The Zoryth Dominion had ruled their side of the galaxy for more than 1,000 years, and in all that time, no world had ever dared to resist them. Every conquered planet carried their banners. Every defeated species whispered their name with fear, and every fleet that tried to stand against them ended as dust in the void. The Zoryth believed themselves unmatched, unbroken, and unstoppable. They thought no one could challenge their power. But that belief began to shake the moment a strange signal appeared in their deep space listening posts. It was small, quiet, almost harmless. A repeating sequence of coded pulses, hidden inside background radiation. At first, the Zoryth technicians ignored it. Signals like this often came from dying stars, broken satellites, or wandering debris. But this one was different. The signal repeated with perfect timing, like a heartbeat. And inside the pulses, there was a faint pattern, simple, sharp, and intentional. Someone was sending a message. The Dominion's long-range scanners traced the origin to a small, distant world outside their control region. A world they had never bothered to explore. A world their star maps labeled only with one word, Deathworld. The commanders inside the Zoryth signal tower looked at each other with confusion. Deathworld were usually unstable planets filled with poisonous atmospheres, violent storms, dangerous creatures, and impossible conditions. No intelligent species should live on such a world. Yet the signal clearly came from there. Commander Vrax, the Dominion's most feared military leader, was summoned to evaluate the discovery. He listened to the signal on repeat, his 4 eyes narrowing with interest. "What kind of world sends messages from a death world?" he asked coldly. A technician replied, "Analysis suggests intelligent life. Unknown species." The room grew tense. Unknown species were rare. Most civilizations had been cataloged or conquered centuries ago. A new one meant opportunity. A new one meant danger. Commander Vrax smiled, showing sharp teeth. "Send a standard intimidation call. Give them the warning." A single broadcast was sent across the stars toward the unknown world. It was the same message the Zoryth had sent to hundreds of civilizations before destroying them. A message meant to show dominance. Asterisk, you have been detected by the Zoryth Dominion. Submit or be erased. Asterisk, the broadcast traveled through space, passing stars and drifting through nebula clouds until it finally reached the small blue planet at the far edge of the galaxy, Earth. The humans received the message. And something happened that the Zoryth never expected. Instead of fear, instead of panic, instead of silence, Earth responded. At first, it was only a faint signal returning along the same path, then a stronger one, then dozens, then hundreds, all coded, all synchronized. The Zoryth scanners lit up with warnings. Multiple transmissions detected. Origin, same planet. Purpose, unknown. Commander Vrax frowned. Decode it. The technicians tried, but the messages were so complex that their decryption systems overloaded and shut down. Sparks erupted from consoles. Warning lights flashed across the control deck. One terrified technician shouted, "It's rewriting our systems." The alien broadcast from Earth was not just a message. It was hacking them. For the first time, the Dominion's monitoring systems fell silent. Every screen went dark. Every sensor shut off. Then, one by one, the screens flickered back to life, displaying a single human word. Received. The room froze. No species had ever answered like that. No species had ever touched Zoryth technology. And no species had ever dared to speak to them without fear. Before Vrax could react, the long-range scanners detected something else. Strange bursts of energy appeared around the edges of the Zoryth border. Gravity waves, space-time distortions. But none of them belonged to Zoryth ships. "What is that?" Vrax demanded. "Unknown," replied the analyst. "It's as if something huge is waking up." Across the galaxy, deep in the solar system, old Earth defense satellites came online after decades of silence. Massive orbital platforms rotated into position. Subterranean bunkers opened. Systems that had been sleeping for generations suddenly activated, as if waiting for this moment. Earth's military AI, dormant for over a century, rebooted with full power. In the Pacific Ocean, a titanic underwater structure rose slowly to the surface, shaking the waves. In orbit, a dark human warship powered up engines large enough to bend space. Humanity was preparing for something. The problem was that the Zoryth had no idea what. Back in the Dominion's capital, the Council demanded answers. Who are these beings? How can they corrupt our systems? Why does a death world respond like an empire? No one knew. Then another message arrived. Not a threat, not a demand. Just a sentence carried through quantum channels the Zoryth could barely detect. A message written in perfect clarity. Earth acknowledges hostile contact. The Dominion panicked. For the first time in centuries, fear entered their hearts. Commander Vrax tried to reassure them. They cannot be a strong species. They come from a death world. They are isolated. We will crush them. But deep down, he sensed something else. Something ancient. Something dangerous. Something hungry. The technicians ran more scans. Their eyes widened. Commander, the energy readings are increasing. From where? Vrax asked. The analyst turned pale. From beyond the borders, from everywhere. Before Vrax could respond, space near the Dominion flickered with red light. Not stars. Not meteors. Engines. Warship engines. Hundreds of them. Asterisk humanity had answered the call. The Zoryth Dominion had challenged the wrong world, and the galaxy was about to shake. The Zoryth Dominion had never moved so quickly. The moment the mysterious human message appeared on their screens, a deep unease spread through every command center across the Empire. Their leaders refused to say it aloud, but the truth sat heavy in their minds. Something was very wrong. Inside the Dominion capital fortress, alarms flashed red across the tall metallic walls. Commanders rushed through the halls, shouting orders, and technicians scrambled to restore damaged systems still corrupted from Earth's silent intrusion. Screens flickered. Sparks burst from panels, and the sound of heavy boots echoed in every corridor. The Dominion had faced rebellions, pirate fleets, even ancient star monsters, but nothing had ever destabilized their systems like this. They could destroy worlds, but they had never faced an enemy who could strike their technology without firing a single shot. Commander Vrax stood in the center of the war hall, surrounded by towering holograms of Zoryth fleets. The war hall was shaped like a giant spearhead, its floor glowing with dark blue energy. Normally, officers would stand in perfect order, calm and focused. But today, their faces were tense, their eyes darting between red warning indicators. Status, Vrax demanded. His voice thundered through the hall. An officer swallowed nervously. We have restored only 50% of long-range sensors. The strange gravity waves are still spreading across the border. Another added. We attempted to trace the source of the human signal, but each attempt ends with system failure. Their encryption, Commander, it is stronger than ours. Vrax clenched his fists. Impossible. No primitive deathworld species can surpass Zoryth encryption. Yet deep down, he remembered the word that had appeared earlier. Received. A single word had shut their systems down. Something beyond their expectation. Something beyond their preparation. The Supreme Chancellor arrived moments later, surrounded by elite guards. His presence forced silence across the hall. His skin, dark and hardened from years of service, gleamed under the blue lights. His voice was cold. We will prepare for total war. Those words had not been spoken in centuries. The officers looked shaken. Total war meant mobilizing the full strength of the Empire. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier. It meant they believed their existence was at risk. The Chancellor pointed at the star map. Recall all outer fleets. Pull back ships from conquered territories. Send out the Titan-class dreadnoughts to the front lines. And activate the planetary shield grid on every world. The war machine of the Zoryth Dominion roared to life. Across the Empire, massive shipyards awakened. Huge mechanical arms lifted battleship cores, welding armor plates with glowing blue fire. Titan dreadnoughts, massive floating fortresses, powered up engines that had not run in decades. Their deep, rumbling vibrations shook the space around them. Soldiers rushed into formation on marching grounds, their armor shining with sharp blue circuits. Generals barked commands as thousands of troopers lined up, each one gripping plasma rifles with steady discipline. Yet even as they prepared, whispers ran through the ranks. What is Earth? How did they break our systems? Why did the signal feel like a warning? In the strategy chamber, Vrax analyzed the human broadcast again and again. There were no threats, no demands, just a simple response that had hit them harder than any weapon. The Chancellor joined him. What do you believe we face? Vrax hesitated. A species that hides its true strength. The Chancellor nodded slowly. Then we must show them ours first. Meanwhile, reports from the borders grew worse. Entire scout wings had vanished. Stations sent final, broken messages before going silent. Some recorded strange flashes of red light seconds before destruction. One transmission captured a chilling moment, a scout pilot whispering, "They're already here too fast," before the screen cut to black. The war hall filled with uneasy murmurs. Officers exchanged nervous glances. The Dominion had always known exactly what enemy they were facing. This time they saw nothing, knew nothing, expected nothing. Their fear grew when a border outpost finally sent a longer recording. It showed the stars in the distance bending unnaturally, like a dark wave moving through space. Objects behind the distortion vanished. Not destroyed, simply erased. "Is this a weapon?" an officer asked. "A storm?" said another. But the analyst shook his head. "No, this is movement. Something huge is traveling through space faster than our sensors can comprehend." A silence fell across the room. Movement? That massive? That fast? Then the analyst added the final detail. "The distortion is headed directly toward us." The Chancellor ordered emergency protocols. Every Zor-controlled world activated defense grids. Shield generators hummed across cities. Starfighters launched from underground silos. Giant rail cannons locked into position. Space stations braced for impact. The Dominion had always been the hunter. Now, for the first time, they were the hunted. In the capital's highest tower, Commander Vrax stood at the giant observation window, watching the sky glow with the blue trails of thousands of ships preparing for war. A young officer approached, pale and shaking. "Commander, new long-range data just came through." Vrax turned sharply. "Show me." The officer handed him a tablet. On the screen was a simple reading. Energy signatures approaching, hundreds, possibly thousands. Origin, Earth system. ETA, hours. Asterisk, asterisk, Vrax felt something cold settle in his chest. He had fought in countless wars. He had crushed rebellions. He had broken empires. But he had never felt this feeling. Not until now. Fear. "Commander, what should we do?" the officer asked. Vrax stared at the glowing red indicators, moving rapidly across the map. Then he whispered the words every Zoryth hoped never to hear. "Prepare the Dominion. The humans are coming." And with those words, the galaxy moved one step closer to war. A war the Zoryth were not ready for. The first true sign of humanity's arrival struck the Zoryth Dominion with the force of a silent storm. There was no warning, no detectable warp trail, no energy spike that normally came before a fleet appeared. Instead, the stars themselves seemed to bend. Commander Vrax stood inside the border command station, staring at a hologram that had suddenly turned red with hundreds of moving signatures. One moment the space beyond their territory was empty and calm. The next, strange distortions rippled across the dark sky, like cracks spreading through a glass window. Technicians scrambled at their consoles, hands shaking as they tried to understand what they were seeing. "Commander, gravitational readings are rising," one shouted. "Space-time is shifting. It's not natural." Another analyst added, "We cannot trace the origin. These distortions are not using any known hyperspace method." Vrax felt the uneasiness grow inside his chest. Before anyone could gather their thoughts, one of the distortions collapsed on itself with a thunderous ripple of red light. The shock wave spread across sensor fields, making screens flicker. Then something massive pushed through the distortion. A ship, a human warship. It was large, dark, and angular, with glowing red lines pulsing along its hull like veins of molten fire. Its engines released waves of bright crimson energy that looked frighteningly alive. The bridge staff rose. What type of ship is that? It's not in any database. Before they could process the sight, another ship appeared, then another, and another. Within seconds, dozens of Deathworlder vessels burst through distortions, spreading across space in a precise and silent formation. They moved without the normal drift or delay of large ships. Instead, they glided to the void with unnatural control, as if the laws of physics bent to allow their passage. Commander Vrax's voice dropped with fear. This is their armada. The Zoryth fleet station at the border reacted instantly. Thousands of fighters launched into formation. Cruisers powered up their cannons, and dreadnoughts aligned their plasma arrays. For the first time since ancient times, the Dominion prepared a full defensive strike. But before they could fire, a new sound echoed through every Zoryth speaker across the region. A voice. A human voice. Calm. Deep. Steady. Zoryth Dominion. This is humanity. You threatened our world. We warned you to stand down. You ignored us. This is your final chance to retreat. The voice ended. No threats. No anger. Just a statement. A fact. Vrax clenched his fists. Bring all cannons online. Aim at the lead ship. Fire on my command. Blue plasma cannons charged across the Zoryth formation. Thousands of barrels glowed with deadly heat. The Dominion had crushed entire civilizations with these weapons. They believed nothing could survive such firepower. Vrax raised his hand. Fire! The Zoryth unleashed the full force of their border fleet. Blue plasma storms roared through space, lighting up the darkness. Torpedoes streaked forward, leaving glowing trails. Massive shockwaves rolled across the battlefield. It was enough power to destroy moons. But when the explosions faded, the truth hit them like a blade through the heart. Not a single human ship was damaged. Not one. The plasma beams bent around human hulls, as if space itself rejected them. Torpedoes vanished mid-flight. Shockwaves passed through hulls like wind through mist. Impossible, whispered a Zoryth officer. Our weapons, they don't affect them. Before anyone could understand what they were facing, the human ships began to move. They did not slide forward at normal speed. They shot forward with sudden bursts, jumping across short distances instantly, as if teleporting in rapid flickers. Zoryth tracking systems screamed error messages. They're too fast. We can't lock on. Their movement, it's breaking our sensors. The humans did not fire right away. Instead, small drones attached from their ships. Tiny machines surrounded by glowing red rings. They spread across the battlefield in perfect formation. Then humanity broke the silence. A single red beam fired from a human destroyer. One shot. It hit a Zoryth cruiser directly. The cruiser did not explode. It simply disappeared, erased in a bright flash like it had been deleted from reality. Panic erupted across the Zoryth command bridge. That was one shot. What weapon is that? We cannot detect the energy type. Humanity began their counterattack. Hundreds of red beams unleashed at once. Each beam sliced through a Zoryth ship with perfect precision. No wasted fire. No misses. No hesitation. Within minutes, half the Zoryth border fleet was gone. Entire wings vanished like dust in a storm. Dreadnoughts, ships the Dominion believed indestructible, were reduced to glowing fragments in seconds. Commander Vrax stared at the battlefield, speechless. He had never seen destruction like this. Humans fought like a force of nature, like the storms of their death world, like predators unleashed from a cage. Vrax forced himself to speak. All ships, fall back, regroup. We must. Before he finished, a massive shadow fell across the battlefield. The largest distortion opened wider than all the others. A ship broke through. No, not a ship. A Titan. A monstrous human flagship bigger than any dreadnought. Its hull glowed red, like a burning star. Its engines released waves that distorted light itself. The name appeared briefly on Zoryth scanners, translated into their language, Titan of Earth. For the first time in his life, Commander Vrax felt true fear. The Titan charged its main cannon. Energy rings rotated along its hull. Space turned red. The Zoryth officer screamed. Brace for impact. The Titan fired. The sky turned white. When the light faded, the entire Zoryth First Fleet was gone. Completely erased. No debris. No survivors. Humanity had spoken, not with words, not with diplomacy, but with a single devastating truth. The Zoryth had challenged the wrong world, and now humanity had arrived. The collapse of the Zoryth Dominion did not begin with noise. It began with silence. A silence so heavy that every commander who heard it felt their hearts freeze. After the Titan of Earth erased the Zoryth First Fleet with a single blast, the border region went completely dark. No transmissions. No emergency beacons. No calls for help. Nothing. Entire sectors that used to glow with ship traffic now appeared empty, as if the stars themselves had swallowed the Zoryth forces. Inside the Dominion Capital Supreme Command Tower, the hologram of the galaxy flickered with red and black sections where Zoryth fleets once stood strong. Commander Cyril, Vrax's closest strategist, stared at the map with shaking hands. This cannot be real, he whispered. An entire fleet cannot vanish like this. But everyone in the room knew the truth. They had seen the Titan fire. They had seen its power. And they had seen how helpless the Dominion was against it. Commander Vrax arrived moments later, his face dark with frustration and fear. The council members turned to him, desperate for direction. Vrax, the Chancellor said. Report. Vrax took a deep breath. The First Fleet is destroyed. The humans are advancing deeper into our space. The room erupted with panic. Deploy the Second and Third Fleets. Evacuate the border colonies. Activate the void cannons. But Vrax raised his hand. Silence. His voice was steady, but his eyes told another story. We already deployed them. The Second and Third Fleets engaged just hours ago. The Chancellor swallowed. And Vrax hesitated. Then he said the words no Zoryth had ever spoken in history. We lost all contact with them. Gasps filled the room. The Dominion had never lost multiple fleets before, not even during ancient wars. The Chancellor gripped the table. Show us the last recording. A screen lit up, showing the final moments of the Second Fleet. Hundreds of Zoryth warships formed a defensive wall, weapons glowing. Then a ripple of red light appeared. Human drones shot forward, moving faster than anything the Zoryth could track. Red beams flashed. Ships exploded instantly. The dreadnought leading the formation tried to fire its main cannon, but human destroyers sliced it apart before the blast released. The entire battle lasted less than 1 minute. When the recording ended, the room remained silent for several long seconds. No one dared breathe. No one dared speak. The collapse had begun. Across the Dominion, panic spread like wildfire. Colonies near the border sent desperate messages. Some reported seeing red lights in the sky before their signals cut off. Others captured brief, horrifying footage of human drones falling from orbit like burning meteors. The drones did not target civilians. They disabled military stations, cut down defense grids, and removed command structures with terrifying precision. It was as if humanity knew exactly where to strike, exactly how to cut out the heart of the Zoryth war machine. On the fortified colony of Kelner, 7, the ground shook as human warships entered the atmosphere. Zoryth generals ordered all rail cannons to fire. Thousands of blue plasma rounds shot into the sky, but every bolt bent around the human ships as if space itself shielded them. The humans returned fire with small red beams, each one destroying a cannon instantly. The colony fell in minutes. Similar scenes played out across dozens of worlds. It no longer felt like war. It felt like a storm that swept everything away. In the war hall, the Chancellor faces commanders. How are they doing this? He demanded. How does their technology erase our weapons? How do they break our systems? How do they move so fast? No one had an answer, not even Vrax. Before they could continue, a new alert flashed across the holomap. Emergency signal from Sector 19, an officer shouted. The map zoomed in. A cluster of Zoryth battleships surrounded a large space fortress, the last stronghold in that region. They're requesting reinforcements. They're under attack. The Chancellor nodded. Patch in their feed. The screen opened to the Sector 19 Fortress command deck. Sirens blared. Officers yelled. The entire room glowed with red emergency lights. "This is Fortress Command," the Zoryth captain shouted. "We are under heavy human attack. They bypassed our shields. The feed shattered with static. Then a human warship filled the view, so close it blocked out the starfield behind it. Red energy pulsed around it like a living flame. The transmission ended. Sector 19 went dark. The officers trembled. Fear spread through the room like cold poison. The Chancellor stared at the darkened region on the map. "How can they be everywhere?" Vrax answered with a voice heavy as stone. "They are faster. Their weapons ignore our shields. Their drones erase ships instantly. They are not fighting us. They are hunting us." The war hall grew quiet again. Outside, citizens filled the capital streets in panic. Huge crowds looked up at the sky, some praying, some crying, others preparing to flee. Rumors spread rapidly. Some said the humans were demons. Others said Earth was a cursed world. A few whispered that the humans were ancient guardians awakened by the Dominion's aggression. On the fourth day of the invasion, the Dominion's largest defense line collapsed. The humans arrived faster than any Zoryth calculation predicted. Their ships appeared inside secure zones, as if teleporting. The Zoryth 7th Fleet attempted a final counterattack. It never even fired a shot. Human ships created a red energy barrier that folded space around the 7th Fleet, crushing the entire formation in seconds. Back in the capital, the Chancellor finally broke. "We cannot survive this," he whispered. "We cannot even slow them." Vrax looked at the map. Half the Dominion already erased. "We challenged a world we did not understand," he said quietly, "and now we pay the price." As the humans advanced toward the core systems, one truth became unavoidable. The collapse of the Zoryth Dominion had begun, and it would not stop until everything they built was turned to dust. The last stand of the Zoryth Dominion began under a sky covered in thick, gray clouds that hung like heavy curtains over the capital world. The once bright city of Zorathos, famous for its tall crystal towers and glowing skybridges, now looked broken and wounded. Smoke rose from distant districts where panicked citizens tried to flee or hide, and the air trembled with the thunder of engines as the final Zoryth war fleets prepared for their desperate defense. Commander Vrax stood on the highest balcony of the Dominion citadel, staring out over the burning horizon. He had fought in hundreds of battles and crushed dozens of civilizations, but he had never seen his people so afraid. Even the strongest soldiers kept glancing at the sky, waiting for the red lights that would signal humanity's arrival. Behind him, the Supreme Chancellor approached slowly. His voice was low and rough. "Vrax, this is all we have left." Vrax turned and saw the final battle formation projected in a glowing hologram. It was grim. Only 6 dreadnoughts remained. Half the planetary shields were offline. Cities had evacuated, but millions were still trapped. And the Titan dreadnought, Zoryth's greatest warship, barely had enough power to keep its main cannon functioning. Vrax nodded. "We will fight to the last, Chancellor." The Chancellor shook his head sadly. "I no longer care about glory. I only want our people to survive, even if we do not." Before Vrax could respond, a loud alarm filled the citadel. A soldier ran in, breathless. "Commander, long-range sensors have detected them." Vrax stepped toward the massive window. His voice was quiet. "Show it." The sky outside shifted. Clouds darkened. And then, slowly, space tore open like a wound. A red crack appeared in the upper atmosphere, pulsating like a beating heart. The Zoryth soldiers froze where they stood. The crack widened. A massive shadow pushed through it. The first human warship appeared, sleek, dark, and glowing with red energy veins. Then another, then dozens. They arranged themselves in a perfect formation above the capital, their engines humming with the deep vibrations of an unstoppable force. The citizens screamed. Children hid behind their parents. Soldiers gripped their weapons tighter. And then the largest shadow of all emerged. The Titan of Earth arrived with a low, thunderous hum that shook the ground. The massive human flagship descended through the clouds, its hull glowing with living red fire. Its size blocked out the sun. Its shadow swallowed the entire capital city. Commander Vrax felt his throat tighten. So this is their true power. The Chancellor whispered, "We challenge gods." On the battlefield, the last Zoryth fleet rose into formation. Dreadnought engines roared. Planetary cannons charged. Anti-air shields activated. Soldiers inside bunkers prepared for the end. Vrax stepped into the command hall, surrounded by officers trembling at their posts. He stood tall, hiding the fear in his heart. "Listen to me," he said. "We hold this line. We fight until nothing is left. If humanity wants our world, they will bleed for it." But deep down, he already knew the truth. Humanity did not bleed like others. Humanity made others bleed. Alarms blared as the Titan of Earth charged its main cannon. A sphere of red energy grew at the ship's core, lighting up the entire battlefield. "Fire!" Vrax shouted. The Zoryth fleet unleashed everything they had. Thousands of blue plasma bolts shot upward. Rail cannons fired piercing beams. Torpedoes streaked toward the human warships. The sky glowed bright blue, almost beautiful. But the attacks bent and vanished as soon as they reached the human fleet. Nothing even scratched their shields. Then the humans answered. A wave of red beams exploded outward from smaller human ships, each beam slicing through a Zoryth cruiser with impossible accuracy. Ships that had survived centuries of war died in seconds. One dreadnought tried to ram a human destroyer, but drones intercepted it and cut it apart mid-flight. Within minutes, the outer Zoryth defenses were completely gone. The Titan of Earth lowered even further into the atmosphere, flames swirling around its hull. The massive cannon reached full charge. Vrax stared at the glowing weapon, realizing the end had come. "Brace for impact," he shouted. The Titan fired. A red beam tore across the sky like the finger of a furious god. It hit the Zoryth Titan dreadnought. The result was instant. The dreadnought exploded in a massive white flash, its remains spreading to clouds like ash. The shockwave shook the ground so violently that buildings cracked. Vrax held on to a support beam as the entire command hall trembled. Officers fell to floor. The Chancellor's staff snapped in half as he struggled to stay standing. "One shot," he whispered. "One shot destroyed our strongest ship." But humanity was not finished. The Titan of Earth deployed hundreds of drones, all glowing with sharp red light. They swarmed the capital like a cloud of fire. Red beams rained down, destroying military bases, defense towers, and shield generators with perfect precision. Yet not one drone fired at civilians. Humanity was delivering a message. Asterisk, we are not here to conquer your people. We are here to destroy your war machine. Asterisk in the command hall. Vrax knew the battle was over. His chest tightened with regret, fear, and anger. "We never understood them," he said quietly. "We thought they were weak." The Chancellor nodded. "We were wrong, and now the galaxy will know it." As the last Zoryth defenses collapsed, a hologram suddenly flickered to life in the center of the room. A tall human commander appeared, armored in black metal, with glowing red lines. He stared at Vrax with calm, cold eyes. "Commander Vrax," the human said, "your fight is over." Vrax gritted his teeth. "Why? Why must you destroy us?" The human replied, "Because you challenge the wrong world." And with that, humanity won the last stand. The capital of the Zoryth Dominion had never been so quiet. Smoke rose from broken towers, drifting across a sky darkened by the shadow of the Titan of Earth. Fires burned in distant districts, casting red reflections across the steel streets. Dead silence filled the air. No engines, no alarms, no shouting soldiers. Only the soft echoes of collapsing buildings remained. Inside the shattered Supreme Command Hall, Commander Vrax stood beside the Supreme Chancellor and a handful of trembling officers. The once great war table flickered weakly, showing only one thing now, a single massive red marker hovering above the planet, the Deathworlder flagship. Everything else was gone. Every fleet, every dreadnought, every defensive line. The Dominion, which once ruled hundreds of worlds, was reduced to a single blinking point of defeat. Vrax felt the weight of it crushing his chest. All the battles he fought, all the victories he claimed, all the species he conquered, it all meant nothing now. The Chancellor slowly approached the cracked window, overlooking the burning capital. His voice trembled. Our empire ended in days. Vrax remained silent, unable to find any words. For the first time in his life, he felt truly helpless. Suddenly, a deep rumbling sound rolled across the sky. The Titan of Earth was descending, slowly rotating above the city like a metal moon. Its red engines pulsed with immense power, lighting up the smoke-filled clouds around it. Zoryth soldiers in the streets dropped their weapons and fell to their knees, some praying, others simply staring in fear. They all felt the same thing, a force so overwhelming it made their entire species feel small. Then something unexpected happened. The Titans stopped firing. The drones circling the city halted in the air, no longer attacking. The endless destruction came to a sudden, eerie stop. A soft beep echoed inside the command hall. A transmission request. The officer stiffened. Vrax swallowed hard. Put it through. A hologram expanded in the center of the hall. A tall human commander appeared, armor black as void, glowing with sharp red lines, face stern and scarred. His presence felt heavier than any threat the Zoryth had faced, yet his voice was calm. Controlled, Zoryth Dominion. He said, "Your war is over." The Chancellor stepped toward the hologram, his old limbs shaking. "Why?" he asked, voice breaking. "Why have you done this? We ruled the stars for centuries. We fought countless enemies. But never have we faced a force like yours." The human commander looked at him with steady eyes. "Because you challenged us. We did not know you were so strong," the Chancellor whispered. "We thought Earth was a small world, a death world, a mistake." The human nodded slowly. "Earth is a death world, but you never understood what that truly means." Vrax stepped forward, trying to gather what little pride he had left. "Explain. What makes your people so powerful? What gives you the right to destroy us?" The human commander lifted his helmet under his arm and revealed his face, covered in scars, eyes sharp, expression heavy with old battles. "You think strength comes from conquering others," he said. "You believe fear would make the galaxy kneel to you." He pointed upward toward the glowing Titan of Earth. "Our strength does not come from fear. It comes from survival." The Zoryth officers looked confused. The human continued. "On Earth, everything tries to kill us. Our storms can destroy entire cities. Our oceans swallow ships like toys. Our forests hide creatures that can tear metal apart. Our diseases wipe out millions. Our mountains shake with fire. Our winters freeze bone. Our summers burn flesh." His voice grew deeper, heavier. "We evolved by fighting a world that wanted us dead from the moment we were born." He stepped closer to the hologram, his presence cold as steel. "We became strong because our world forced us to become strong." Silence filled the hall. Even the burning outside seemed to quiet down. "So, when you sent your threat," the human said, "you awakened a part of us that has survived every disaster our planet ever created. You awakened the part of us that refuses to die." He gestured toward the destruction around the capital. "This is not conquest. This is consequence." The Chancellor fell to his knees, overwhelmed by the truth. We thought you were weak." "Most species do," the human replied, "until they see what we truly are." Vrax clenched his fists. "If you are so powerful, why show mercy now? Why stop attacking?" The human commander turned his head slightly. "Because we do not kill without purpose. We destroy only what threatens us. Your people can live. Your civilians are safe. But your empire ends today." Vrax stared at him, confused. "Why spare us?" The human's eyes softened slightly. "Because power without control is not strength. It is destruction, and we choose strength." The Chancellor looked up with tears forming in his eyes. "Then tell us why we truly lost." The human commander stepped back. His final words echoed through the hall like a final judgment. "You lost because you never protected anything. Not your allies, not your people, only your pride." He placed his helmet back on. "But humans protect everyone we stand for. That is true strength. And that is why your dominion fell." The hologram faded. Outside, the Titan of Earth slowly rose higher into the sky. Its engines glowed brighter, preparing to leave. Human ships regrouped around it, forming a quiet, disciplined formation. Humanity had no interest in ruling the Zoryth. They came only to end the threat. Vrax watched the fleet ascend, his voice barely a whisper. They challenged the wrong world, and humanity shook the galaxy. The red glow faded into clouds as the humans disappeared into the stars. And the Zoryth Dominion, once the greatest empire of its age, finally understood the true meaning of strength.